I never thought I'd be the kind of person to lend that kind of money to anyone, let alone my brother. But when he called me crying, telling me that he was about to be evicted from his apartment because of unpaid rent, I couldn't just ignore it. He promised me it was only temporary, just a little help to cover the rent, and I'll pay you back as soon as I can, he said. He seemed genuinely stressed, so I agreed. After all, he's family, right? And I always wanted to be the supportive older sibling. But there was something about the way he asked for the money that bothered me. He was never the type to ask for help. My brother, let's call him Tom, had always prided himself on being independent. So when he called, it felt different. I didn't question it too much, though, since he said he was really struggling. He'd been going through a tough time, losing his job and not being able to find work for a while. I understood. It was a difficult situation. I told him, all right, I'll send it to you. Just promise me you'll pay me back as soon as you're able to. Tom promised. He swore he'd get things back on track. A week later, I was scrolling through Instagram on a lazy Saturday morning, sipping my coffee. I was half-heartedly watching some stories when suddenly I saw something that made my stomach drop. There was a picture of Tom. He was on the beach, lounging in the sun, sunglasses on, with a drink in his hand. Behind him, you could see crystal clear water and luxury resort vibes. The caption? Vacation time. Finally. Smiling emoji. Hashtag living the dream. I froze, staring at the screen, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. A week ago, he had been telling me he couldn't make rent. He begged me for help, said he was about to be kicked out of his apartment, and now he's on vacation? What the hell was going on? The more I looked, the more confused and upset I got. Tom had just texted me a few days ago, thanking me for sending the money. You saved me. I don't know what I would have done without you, he said. But now, I was seeing this. And there was no mention of rent anywhere, no acknowledgement of the situation he had put me in. I tried to tell myself I was overreacting, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It wasn't just about the vacation. What really hit me was how casually he seemed to be living it up, while I was sitting at home, hoping I'd get my money back. I wasn't expecting him to be in a rush to pay me back. But this was next-level disrespect. Later that evening, I got a text from him. Hey, you all right? Chill, you'll survive. Don't worry about me paying you back right now. I'm just trying to enjoy myself. He'd left me hanging on a promise, and now he was telling me not to worry about it. It was the last straw that I didn't respond right away. In fact, I didn't respond at all. I let his message sit there, unacknowledged. I didn't want to engage. Instead, I let it sink in. He thought he could get away with it, that he could just use me for a quick loan and then blow me off. I wasn't about to let that slide, but I wasn't going to make a scene either. I decided to let him believe that everything was fine, that he had won. And so, I let the silence stretch on. The next morning, my phone buzzed incessantly. 30 missed calls from Tom. 30. I wasn't sure what to make of it. He'd never been this persistent in trying to reach me before. I figured it was just him realizing I wasn't going to jump at his beck and call anymore. But then the next day came, and the day after that. Each morning, I woke up to an avalanche of missed calls. 50, 60. My phone was practically vibrating off the table. I started ignoring his calls intentionally. It felt good. He was starting to feel the pressure I had been under when he promised me he would pay me back. And yet, there was still that sense of unease. Was I doing the right thing by letting him twist in the wind like this? But what really surprised me was that he wasn't giving up. He didn't just send texts. He left voicemails. Each one was a bit more desperate than the last, but I stayed silent, letting it all build up. By the fourth day, his messages had shifted. They started getting more personal. Please, don't do this. I need you to trust me. I know I messed up, but I'm trying to make things right. Please call me back. One of the messages said, I couldn't help but feel a little satisfaction in hearing him beg. But I wasn't done yet. I wasn't going to just let this slide. I had a plan, something far more effective than simply replying to his calls. I needed to make him feel the full weight of his actions. But how? I spent the next few days carefully thinking through my options. Part of me wanted to just cut him off entirely, to make him suffer the consequences of his behavior. But I didn't want to just hurt him. I wanted to teach him a lesson he'd never forget, a lesson about respect, about loyalty, and about what it really meant to take advantage of family. I'd seen a post on Reddit a few months ago about a sibling who had pulled something similar, but it went viral after they exposed everything publicly. I thought, what if I did something like that? What if the world knew exactly how Tom had treated me, how he had used me for my money, and then went off to live a life of luxury without a second thought? I wasn't sure at first, but as the days passed and his calls continued to flood in, my anger only deepened. I had given him $6,000. I trusted him, and this is how he repaid me? I wasn't about to let him just slip away from this scot-free. I needed a way to make him see that actions have consequences. I knew exactly where to start. Tom had been bragging about his vacation on social media, the same place where I saw those pictures of him sipping drinks by the beach. I decided to take a little dig into his social media history. And there it was. Tom had posted about the vacation, but also about his new designer bags, fancy dinners, and all the luxuries he could afford to buy while I was struggling to get a simple thank you for my help. That I took screenshots of his posts. A lot of them. Then I made a new post on my own social media with a carefully worded message. Some people ask for help and then use you to fund their vacations. They think their lies will never catch up with them. But what happens when the truth comes out? I didn't tag Tom directly, but I made it clear who I was talking about. The post got some traction. Friends and family started commenting. My phone began blowing up with people questioning what was going on, asking for details. Some of my friends knew the situation, but most of them didn't. This wasn't just me venting anymore. It was me making a public statement. Tom must have seen it almost immediately because within hours, he was calling again. This time, the desperation in his voice was unmistakable. He wasn't even pretending to be calm anymore. "What the hell is this? Why are you airing our dirty laundry online?" he shouted. But I didn't respond right away. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of thinking I was rattled. Instead, I let the silence stretch between us, knowing how uncomfortable it was making him. Then, I finally spoke, calmly and deliberately. "You made a choice, Tom. You thought you could take advantage of me, use me to fund your vacation, and brush me off like I didn't matter. You think this is just about the money, but it's not. It's about respect, and you have none for me." I heard him exhale sharply on the other end of the line. For a moment, I thought maybe he was going to apologize. Maybe he'd finally get it. But no, this isn't fair. You're blowing this way out of proportion. You can't just ruin my life over some stupid loan. I could hear the panic rising in his voice. It was exactly what I had hoped for. He was scrambling. It was becoming clear to me that my plan was working. "Let's be real, Tom. If you had treated me with even a fraction of the respect I deserve, I wouldn't have to do this. But now you're the one who has to deal with the fallout. Let's see how long you can keep up that perfect image." I hung up before he could say anything more. I knew he was going to try to contact me again, but this time, I had the upper hand. The next few days felt like a waiting game. The more he tried to contact me, the more I let it build. I watched as the drama unfolded online. Friends and family began to call him out on social media, asking why he would act like that. The pressure was mounting, and it was all because of his own actions. But then came the moment I had been waiting for. The calls kept coming, but now Tom was getting more frantic. His messages started to feel desperate, pleading, even bargaining. He promised that he'd pay me back immediately, that he'd fix everything. But by now, I wasn't interested in hearing his excuses. This wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about him understanding that he couldn't get away with treating me like this. But I didn't respond. I didn't have to. The damage had been done, and it wasn't just to our relationship, it was to his reputation. By the fifth day, everything had escalated. I wasn't the only one calling out Tom now. Other family members, people I hadn't spoken to in years, started weighing in. A few cousins messaged me privately, asking what had happened, and when I explained the situation, they were just as shocked as I was. One of them even told me that Tom had been bragging about the vacation to everyone in the family, as if it was no big deal. They all said they were disappointed in him, and it made me feel a small sense of vindication. I could hear it in his voice the next time we spoke, which was inevitable. He called me at least 10 times that day, and I finally answered, just to end this once and for all. "Are you happy now?" he asked, and there was something in his tone that almost made me feel guilty. Almost. I stayed calm. I didn't want to do this. You pushed me to it. You used me, Tom, and you thought I wouldn't find out. But you've learned the hard way that you can't mess with family and expect to get away with it. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing heavily on the other end of the line. This is insane. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just trying to have some fun, get away from everything for a bit. Fun? I couldn't help the bitterness that seeped into my voice. You think it's fun to lie to your family? To use someone's hard-earned money just so you can post a picture of yourself on the beach? He didn't answer, and I could tell that he was trying to find the right words, trying to salvage some shred of dignity. But it was too late for that. The truth had already come out. Then, in a moment of clarity, I remembered something that hit me like a ton of bricks. Tom was planning to get married soon. He had mentioned it in passing, and I had no doubt that he was going to ask me to help him out again, either financially or with wedding expenses. It was a long shot. But what if I could use that? What if I could make sure he understood the consequences of his actions before it went any further? So I asked him, "You really think you deserve my help after everything? After you took my money and used it for your vacation?" I could hear the panic creeping into his voice again. "No, of course not. I messed up, and I'm sorry. I really am." The words felt hollow to me, and I wasn't sure if I should believe him anymore. But I was done giving second chances. "I don't know, Tom. You've burned a bridge with me, and I'm not sure it can be fixed." He tried to backpedal, saying everything he thought would make me change my mind, but I was already over it. His apology was just a way for him to get me to back off so he could keep on living his carefree life. But I wasn't having it. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse for him, the unthinkable happened. Tom's wedding venue had just canceled. And not just the venue, but the entire event. The caterers, the decorators, everything. Gone.it was like some cosmic karma had stepped in and delivered its own brand of justice. The timing couldn't have been worse for him. I sat there in disbelief, my phone buzzing with notifications, the universe giving me this gift at the perfect moment. I couldn't help but smile, but I quickly wiped it away. This wasn't just about me feeling like I'd won. This was about teaching him that his actions had consequences. He had used me, he'd lied, and now he was facing the fallout. I was sitting at home, watching the chaos unfold in real time on social media when I got a call. It was Tom. His voice was shaking, but I couldn't bring myself to feel sorry for him. "Do you know what just happened?" he asked, breathless. "Yeah, I saw. Looks like your wedding's off," I replied, trying to keep my tone even. Inside, I was grinning, but I didn't let him hear it. Tom's voice dropped, and I could feel the weight of his desperation in every word. "You have to help me. Please. I can't afford to lose everything. The wedding is ruined. I need you to fix this. You're the only one who can make it right." I could hear the panic rising in his voice. It was like a tidal wave crashing against the shore, and I was the only one standing on dry land. I wasn't just hearing his desperation. I was feeling it. He needed me now, just like he had needed me before, only this time, I wasn't going to swoop in to save him. "You want me to fix this?" I said, my voice cold. "After everything you've done to me, after how you treated me." "No, Tom. You made your bed, and now you get to lie in it." He tried to reason with me, throwing out every excuse, every apology he could muster. But there was something in his voice, something that told me he had learned nothing. This wasn't a lesson for him. It was just another hurdle to overcome. But I wasn't ready to let him off the hook. Not yet. "You think this is a joke, don't you?" I said, letting the words sink in. "You think you can just walk through life doing whatever you want, and that I'll always bail you out? Well, I'm done, Tom. You're on your own now." There was a long silence, and I could hear him breathing heavily, trying to process what I just said. "I'll never forgive you for this," he whispered, but there was no anger in his voice, just a deep, bitter sense of betrayal. His words were hollow, like an empty threat that didn't hold weight anymore. And with that, I hung up. I didn't need to hear anything else. He was on his own. The next few hours felt like a slow burn. News of the wedding cancellation spread like wildfire. Family members began reaching out to me, and my inbox was flooded with messages. Everyone wanted to know what had happened. Everyone had questions. And I, of course, was more than happy to share the full story. It wasn't long before the public backlash started to hit Tom. People in his circle started to call him out. Friends, acquaintances, even people he had worked with in the past. Everyone began to question his character. How could someone so irresponsible expect help when they'd already betrayed their own family? And that's when I realized Tom wasn't just losing his wedding. He was losing his reputation. And I wasn't done yet. The next morning, the phone rang again. I didn't even need to look at the caller ID to know it was Tom. His number had become a haunting presence on my screen over the past few days. But this time, something felt different. His voice wasn't just desperate. It was defeated. Please, he pleaded as soon as I answered. I need your help. This whole thing is falling apart. I don't know what to do without you. I almost couldn't contain the laughter that bubbled up from inside me. It wasn't out of humor. It was pure satisfaction. After everything, after all his empty promises and selfishness, here he was, begging me for help. It was exactly what I wanted to see. And honestly, it felt damn good. You need my help now? I asked, my voice dripping with sarcasm. After everything you did to me? You think you deserve my help? There was a crack in his voice. He sounded so broken, so small. I almost felt sorry for him, but only for a split second. I quickly shook that thought out of my mind. This wasn't about sympathy. This was about him facing the consequences of his actions. I never meant for it to get this bad, he said, and I could hear the guilt in his words, but there was no sincerity behind them. He was trying to play the victim now, trying to turn the tables and make me feel like I was the one in the wrong for not helping him out of his mess. Do you realize how ridiculous you sound right now? I chuckled. You've ruined your wedding, ruined your reputation, and now you want me to just fix it like nothing ever happened? He stammered, unable to answer. I could feel the weight of his humiliation pressing down on him, and I couldn't help but enjoy the moment. He had always been the golden child, the one everyone looked up to. He thought he could do whatever he wanted without consequences. But now, he was on the receiving end of the very thing he dished out for years, betrayal and abandonment. I'm sorry, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. Please, I don't know who else to turn to. I let the silence hang between us for a moment, letting the desperation in his voice wash over me like cold water. He wasn't the strong, confident brother I used to know. He was a man who had made one mistake after another, and now he was paying for it. You want me to fix it, huh? I finally said, my voice low. Tell you what, Tom, you should have thought about all this before you went on vacation and acted like everything was fine. You should have thought about it before you made me the bad guy in all of this. Please, I'll do anything, he begged. I'll pay you back. I'll make it right. I promise. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I laughed. It wasn't a soft laugh. It was loud, mocking, almost cruel. You think I'm going to believe that? You think you can just snap your fingers and make everything go back to normal? His silence spoke volumes. I could practically hear him cursing me in his head, but I didn't care. This was exactly what he deserved. For years, he had taken advantage of my kindness, expecting me to be there whenever he needed something. Well, now the tables had turned, and it was his turn to suffer. And then, in the midst of all his pleas, something changed. It wasn't his tone. It wasn't his apology. It was the realization that he wasn't going to get what he wanted. The realization that no matter how much he begged or how much he pleaded, I wasn't going to help him. You've lost everything, Tom, I said coldly. You ruined your wedding, your reputation, and now you've lost me. You can't buy that back with empty promises. He fell silent, and for the first time in our entire conversation, I could hear the sound of his defeat. It was the sound of a man who had been beaten, who had finally understood the price of his arrogance. Goodbye, Tom, I said, my voice final. There was no more room for discussion, no more room for forgiveness. I hung up the phone without another word. As I look back, I can't help but wonder, was I wrong to let him suffer the consequences, or was this the wake-up call he truly needed? What do you think? Was I right to stand my ground, or should I have helped him out? Let me know in the comments.